In this video, I tell you about how you can get 3D printed stuff without having to buy a printer. So last week I talked about 3D printing and how it relates to wargaming. A lot of it really relating to terrain and stuff like that. And the reason is because I recently bought a 3D printer. And so I started making different terrain bits and getting into the technology behind it and the materials and all that stuff. And it's really interesting and fascinating to me. And a lot of people in the comments are also 3D printers or interested in 3D printing. And even more people were like, well, that's really cool, but I'm just not sure. I don't know if it's, I don't know if I want to make that kind of investment, but I do really like the stuff that came out of it. If you want to watch that video, which a lot of people did actually watch, surprisingly, I think it's a subject that's maybe a little bit more interesting to people than I had even thought. I thought just dorks like me were really interested in 3D printing. But if you want to watch that video, pachow. But the trick is that 3D printing can be pretty expensive. There were people in the comments who were like, so I really want to make some terrain, but I don't want to spend $200, $400, $600, $1,000 on a printer just so I can make some really cool custom terrain. And that's valid. If you're going to be doing something where you need to be able to cover several tables because you're a tournament organizer, great. Or if you want to start doing it as a little side business, great. Selling it to your friends, the materials that you make, great. But if you just want to make some terrain or just some little details to add to pieces of terrain, or you just want to print some really nice looking, I don't know, models or shoulder pads or anything like that, the printers right now that you and I can generally afford in our homes aren't great at doing the really small little details. And B, it seems kind of like a waste sometimes to spend a whole bunch of money on a machine if you just want some stuff. And frankly, that's where the sponsor of today's video, Shapeways, comes into play. Now, I've heard about Shapeways back when they first started, years ago, back in, I think I first heard about them in 2010. And they are a company that does the 3D printing for you. So what you can do is you can send them a design. You make a design in your 3D software, whatever you're going to do, and you can send it to them. They will print it to you and then mail it back to you. Now, the trick is this. They use, because they're a big company, they use really nice equipment, amazing stuff. And since I've been paying attention to the company and looking at how they've progressed over these years, they've gone from making stuff that I was like, oh, that's really cool, they can 3D print now, that's neat, to the point where I'm like looking at stuff saying, that's amazing quality. And admittedly, you'll pay, for the really super fine quality stuff, but they can do really, really, really fine looking stuff. In that video from last week, I did talk about a type of printing generally known as stereolithography, which is using like resin sometimes or powders, and then there's lasers, and they kind of burn the stuff layer by layer. That's the majority, to some degree, of what Shapeways does with their printing. They use that type of much higher res, much more expensive machinery to produce really super fine stuff. Now, they can also do filament printing, and they can do, actually the amount of stuff that they can do is actually pretty astounding. They can print in all kinds of metal. There's a lot of jewelry that you can find on their website. They can print in castable wax. So like they print in as wax, and then you could put it into a mold, and then you heat the mold, and then the wax melts out, and then you pour metal into the mold. It's a thing I learned to do in college for making jewelry and stuff like that. So they can print that cast, all that kind of stuff. But you're probably asking yourself, that's great, they can do all this stuff in metal and materials and all that, and colored sandstone. But what about my wargaming? Well, to be fair, they have really begun in the last couple of years to start focusing on the miniature market. I bumped into Shapeways. They had a booth at Adepticon this year, which was the first year that they've ever been at Adepticon that I remember. And they were showing off tons of different pieces aimed directly at wargamers. Here's the thing that's interesting about Shapeways. You can come up with a design, upload it, find out how much it's going to cost, get it printed, shipped back to you. Boom, now you have this neat, cool, high-res print of whatever. But let's say you don't know how to do 3D modeling. You don't understand the software. You don't want to learn it. It's a steep learning curve. I'm not going to lie. I'm only at this point vaguely passable in being able to build some things in 3D software. They also do something where people will make designs and put the designs on their website in a marketplace. And then you can say, yep, that's a thing that I want. I want it in this material, and here's my address and all that, and they will ship it to you. And there are groups that now do this and produce tons of different stuff for wargaming, terrain, all kinds of miniatures, no matter what. World War II stuff, sci-fi stuff, fantasy stuff, everything. And you can just go through there and find things that you're looking for and then say, yep, I want prints of that. And then they'll, you pay them and whatnot, and they ship it to you. It works great. And again, like I said, can be very, very high res. This is a picture of some kind of Maltese cross sort of things. They look basically like the crosses you see for Black Templars. I wanted to be able to put those onto regular shoulder pads. Those Primaris Space Marines and a lot of different Marines like that, they come pre-built. You don't, if you're the posable ones, you can put on whatever shoulder pad you want. But the ones that are kind of press fit or easy, to put together, it's very difficult to get that shoulder pad off and put a different shoulder pad on. So you can just fix the problem by putting one of these perfectly shaped, pre-made crosses directly, just glue it on there with a little touch of glue, glue it onto the shoulder pad. There are probably dozens and dozens of different types of designs designed just to go directly onto 40K Space Marine shoulder pads on that website that are already done by different companies, different groups, different people. You can go through and pick and choose. Plus, there are just entire shoulder pads if you want to go that way. There are different kinds of guns that nobody makes. They're not knockoffs of something necessarily that Games Workshop makes. They're something that nobody makes. And you can get those, and they're designed to be at the right scale and fit perfectly with your models. There's add-ons for all kinds of different current model kits. There are, I got this, they sent this to me. This is a helmet for an Imperial Knight. Now, the Imperial Knight obviously that kit comes with a helmet, but it doesn't come with a tiny little perfect Death Guard helmet. This is amazing looking. I cannot wait to eventually get and build a kit for the Imperial Knight and then put this on there and make him kind of nurgled up and make him look really cool. This type of stuff, which is already on the website, you don't have to design it. That's one of the really super cool things, in my opinion, about Shapeways, being able to find that stuff, get a print, and ship to your house. And I talked about doing terrain with my printer here, and it works really well, especially if you're doing things that are, kind of organic, or if I'm doing something that's supposed to look like cement or concrete, and then the little lines that end up generally in any filament print, they kind of make a little bit more sense in that particular situation. But if you want really nice, smooth-looking terrain, or you want terrain that looks like a certain type of metal, bumpiness to it, that kind of thing, a surface that's just sort of really interesting and maybe rusted, they have these kinds of pieces as well. And then they just pretty much, you prime them and then you paint them and they're done. And they can do, there's already stuff on the website in these different shapes and sizes, scattered terrain, just tons of stuff all over that website that you can go through. You don't have to have any background in 3D printing. You just go through and pick it and just go, yeah, I want one of those, and I want one of those, and I want one of those, and then get it. It's a great system for getting things, kind of getting you into 3D printing. You can get some materials that somebody else designed, shipped to your house, and then you can take a look at those, paint them, work them into your gaming table or into your actual models, especially if you go with like the shoulder pads or the insignias or the extra guns, anything along those lines. The next step is that you could then start to design your own pieces, upload them, get those prints. If you get friends and people that you play against, opponents who start to ask about the thing that you designed, well, you might want to start having it on the marketplace so that other people can buy it, because you're going to get a percentage every time somebody buys one of your shapes to be printed. So you could go that direction. You have all these different steps on how to get into it, and you can do a lot with the stuff from Shapeways. And like I said, they keep adding much more expensive equipment all the time, stuff that you and I couldn't afford. And it's amazing processes with the lasers and the resin and the powder and all that kind of, stereolithographic stuff. And there's just tons of stuff on there, not just for wargaming, but also for people who are into, World War II modeling, parts for all kinds of different scale model tanks and things like that, jewelry, like I mentioned, parts for RC cars, everything, all kinds of stuff that's on there. Anything that you want to get printed, if you could design it, you could upload it, they'll be able to print it. And because this is a sponsored video with Shapeways, I worked with them and I said, hey, I'd really like to be able to give my viewers some sort of a benefit. And so they said, yeah, we can do that. So if you use the coupon code here on the screen, TMSummer17, on your first order, you'll get free shipping. So it'll just take the shipping right out of the equation. Basically, all you'll do is pay for the material, and then they'll do the free shipping, send it to your house. But you got to use the coupon code TMSummer17 to get that special. So go to the website, take a look. If you go to the website right now, there's a section that says, oh, we've got jewelry, and another section that says, oh, we've got tech parts. And then there's a big section about wargaming and regular gaming, other tabletop gaming, and another section about miniatures. So they're really starting to push hard. They're leading with our kind of nerd stuff right on their front page because they understand that this is a great fit for our people, for lack of a better term. So go through, take a look. They've got a great website. Just search and just find all kinds of stuff. Shoulder pads, insignias, guns, terrain, scatter stuff, anything you're looking for, you should be able to find it on their website. And if it's something you can't find, you could always design it yourself, or you could work with people in their community to pay someone else to design something and then put it up, and then you could get prints that way. There's all kinds of different ways. Take a look at the website. It's really a good resource for this kind of stuff. And if you want to get some stuff printed, remember to use the code and you'll get free shipping up until October 31st, 2017. I should probably remember to mention that. So, take a look through the website and dip your toe into 3D printing without having to actually go out and buy a 3D printer.